Corey Davis, design director on Nosgoth, and we're going to check out a little gameplay.
Alrighty. So Corey, can you give us some tips here on playing the game? And first of all, for the folks at home who are not familiar with Nosgoth, can you give a little bit of background on the game?
Yeah, so we are a team-based, multiplayer, asymmetrical shooter set in the land of Nosgoth, which is, if you played Legacy of Kain, is where that whole series is set.
Okay.
So if you played Soul Reaver, at the beginning of the game, Raziel gets cast into the abyss by Kain, and then thousands of years later, the events of Soul Reaver happen. We're set in that window.
Oh, okay.
So this is, humans and vampires are still battling over the land of Nosgoth. Nothing's decided yet, and we let you take control of both sides. So right now you're playing as a human. Looks like you're getting beat up a little bit. Hey, George.
Okay.
So you got an automatic crossbow, which is pretty powerful. You've got two abilities as well. So you can see you've got this poison bola ability on your Q. So if a vampire gets up in your grill, you can press Q, wrap him up, and he can't attack you, and then you can shoot him. So it's a really good ability to sort of fend off a vampire.
Okay. Oh, you got me now.
Yeah, you'll respawn in a couple seconds.
Okay, so we got this is just our kill screen. Right?
Yeah, that's who killed you.
Okay. So can you tell us about the skills that the human players have, and kind of the skills as a vampire?
Sure. So right now we have 3 classes on both sides. You're playing the Hunter, who is our most offensive, well-rounded character. So he's all about damage. He's got an automatic crossbow, the bow that I mentioned that can disable a vampire, and he's got explosive shots. So you've got the blinding shot right now. If you shoot that, it'll do area damage and blind any vampires nearby.
Okay.
There's also a class called the Scout. If you want to switch to him, you can click on the loadouts here. Yeah. Let's jump on the Alchemist. So she's our, you can play. The Alchemist is our support and AoE class. She's got a grenade launcher that you can shoot. And she's also got abilities like you have the light bomb loaded out, which is an area of effect bomb that blinds people, and a flamethrower. So if they get up close to you, you can turn that on and just burn them to death. And she can also play more of a support role. So you don't have it equipped right now, but she has a healing AoE. You can pop down and creates a mist that heals your teammates, so you feel like playing a backup kind of role.
Oh, okay. So she's like our support / medic character, as well as our mage character.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And the Scout, who's the 3rd human available right now, is our long range specialist. So he's got a longbow. If you hold right click down, you can draw your bow all the way back and do way more damage. So he's a really good sniper. He's really accurate from long range, and when you're fighting melee characters like vampires, that's a very powerful thing to have. He can also throw knives at people, and he's got a turret that he can put down that damages everybody in a radius.
That'd be an F key, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
They're on you. You got your turret down, but there's too many.
Yeah. So can you tell us the game modes that are in the game?
Yeah, so the default game mode is a team deathmatch 4 versus 4. And we also have Siege mode right now, which is based on domination. So the humans are trying to capture objectives and the vampires are trying to prevent it from happening.
Okay.
We're working on more game modes right now, but I don't have anything to talk about this yet.
Okay.
So you just switch to Vampire, so I can start talking about those classes.
Okay.
This is the Reaver. He's our fastest, most mobile melee unit. So he's all about leaping into battle, killing you, and getting out.
Okay.
So if you've got 3 abilities instead of 2 on the humans because you don't have a weapon. And your default ability is on right mouse, and if you hold it down, you can charge up a leap attack. And if you aim it and left click, you can leap across the level and tackle humans and claw them to death.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like that.
So you can cover quite a bit of ground with that.
Okay.
So it's a really good gap closer. If a human's shooting at you, you can use that to get on top of them quickly. Yeah, you got it down.
Okay. So now, do the characters, do you level up your characters or your loadouts or abilities?
So we do
matches?
Yeah, so we do have a leveling system. It's if you played Battlefield, it's kind of that concept where you have a level for each class that you play, and then you have an overall rank that accumulates as well, and you get rewards for both.
Okay.
So the model we have is that every class has a variety of abilities but you can only pick from a certain amount. And you can buy those in the store for in-game currency or for premium currency.
Okay.
And As you level your class up, you get random items tailored for that class that you don't have to buy in any way, and you also get exclusive content. So I don't know if you've seen, we recently announced the Evolve skins, which make each character look more like they were in the original Soul Reaver games.
Okay.
And you earn those at level 20, so they're like a prestige item. It's like, you see that, you know that guy has played a lot of that class.
Okay. So speaking of the original games, will you have any like DLC characters, or will you have characters unlockable in the game that you know, are from the previous games in the franchise?
So we're not set in the same time period. George can tell you about, there's not a lot of characters that would make sense to integrate directly. The closest thing we have is those Evolve skins, like I told about, that you sort of unlock from playing and link more directly to that franchise. But you know, George can get into, Raziel's not around right now, Kane's not in the picture either. So there's not like specific people we can pull in.
Oh, okay. So he's kind of just so you got Kane just kind of looking down over everything when that time period. And then, you know, like you said, Osriel's not in the picture.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the story, as far as like, okay, the war has been kicked off.
Let's get George in here.
Right after the events.
He can talk about this.
Hi, how you doing, George? Nice to meet you.
How you doing, sir?
Yeah, cool. How's it going?
Pretty good.
So, questions about the game. So, the game is set. You're familiar with Soul Reaver, right?
Yes, sir.
And the original, everyone remembers that amazing cutscene right at the start of Soul Reaver. You know, Kane was deified, the clans tell tales, etc., etc. That ends with Raziel being cast down into the abyss by Kane and his lieutenants. And then by the time you actually start to play the actual game, it's around about 1,000 years later. And the entire empire's fallen into disrepair, and all the vampires have devolved thanks to, owing to Newcrafter's curse. So this game takes place within that 1,000-year span that's never really been explored before. So this gives us the opportunity to really look into what Kane's empire looked like and the various inhabitants that existed within the land. It also gives players the opportunity to play from the human side for the first time in the series. So right now, what you're playing there, he's a Turellim. He's, you know, there's still the same big hulking brute that you would have seen in Soul Reaver. The Reaver is Doomhim, and the Sentinel is Raziel, and the Raziel is a really interesting character because you know, you've never seen Raziel's clan before, because by the time Raziel comes out of the abyss, his entire clan have been, well, supposedly been wiped out. You know, and comments from the original development team at Crystal Dynamics always seem to imply that you know, that their final fate had actually been unrevealed. Other than that, the various locations within the game are all based on areas within known to exist within the land. So the three maps that we originally started off with in closed alpha, Freeport, Valeholm, and Province, had only ever existed on maps, but you never actually got to see them in game. Somerdam is a fort that's just on the outskirts of Meridian, Meridian being the city that Blood Omen 2 is based in. And today on the panel we'll be discussing the first map that's set in Vampire Hell territory. All the maps so far in the game are in Human Hell territory. Today we're going to be showing on the panel from 12 till 1 the first map that's set in Vampire Hell territory, and we've got some really cool stuff in the map that will be immediately recognized by people who are familiar with the series. And you know, the way that we're delivering the kind of atmospherics that are true to the series is through statues within the game, background art, the look of the characters. For example, in Somerdam you see a giant statue of a Sarafan warrior that looks very similar to Malik. Malik being the Pillar Guardian of Conflict, you know, big character in Legacy game Blood Omen, Soul Reaver 2. And we'll be doing the same in the Vampire Underground City in even bigger and better ways. And we have, you know, everyone on the team is not just familiar with, but enormous fans of the original series. And any additional content that we can drop into the game that, you know, serves as nods and throwbacks to the original series, we're absolutely going to do that. We're going to do as much of that as we possibly can.
Okay. So when can we expect Nosgoth to be released?
So Nosgoth is currently in closed beta. It will be going into open beta when it's ready. Okay. We haven't got a specific date for that right yet. I mean, it's a live game, so we're never really going to see it as being truly finished. We're going to carry on dropping in content for as long as we can. You know, we want Nosgoth to be around in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time, you know, just constantly expanding with new modes and new characters and new maps and and ideas that we're taking from the community as well. We've got a very, very active community on our forums, and they've already had an impact on how we're developing the game. I'm very pleased to say that most of the ideas that they come up with is stuff that we've already been thinking about. But they've already affected the order in which we're dropping in content, and we're very grateful for the amount of feedback that we're getting.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, George.
No, it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Corey. Corey stepped away, but we thank you for letting us come and take the time and check out the game. I'm really, really looking forward to it as a fan of Legacy of Kain and Soul Reaver, and I'm glad that you guys are bringing back the series in a fresh, all new way and kind of filling in the gaps between the I want to say plot holes between the timeline and the series.
Unexplored eras. I mean, there's a lot of love for the Legacy of Kain series at Square Enix, and of course we want it to appeal to as many people as possible. And Nosgoth, we think, is a great way of inviting more people into the, making them more aware of Legacy of Kain. The more people who are into Legacy of Kain, the more we can do with it.
All right, thank you.
No worries.
Thank you for your time. All right.
Real gamer news.
DJ Killzown Jones, you better remember the name. DJ Killzown Jones, you better remember the name.